August 16, 1969, 3:47 a.m. at Woodstock. While most of the half-million festival-goers slept in the muddy fields of Bethel, New York, 26-year-old Marcus "Wire" Johnson was wide awake in the equipment tent, frantically trying to repair Jimi Hendrix's damaged amplifier before the legendary Guitarist's dawn performance. As the most innovative guitar technician in the business, Marcus had developed revolutionary modifications to standard equipment that helped create the signature sounds of rock's biggest stars. But what happened during those early morning hours would change not only Marcus's life, but the entire future of music technology. Dancing alone in the pre-dawn mist outside the tent was a mysterious young woman whose understanding of sound, vibration, and the mathematics of musical harmony would inspire Marcus to invent the technology that would define rock music for the next 50 years. Her name was Harmony Wavelength, and their meeting would ultimately save music from the corporate forces that were trying to standardize and sterilize the creative revolution that had exploded across American culture during the 1960s. Marcus had earned his nickname Wire through his uncanny ability to understand the relationship between electricity and musical expression, developing custom modifications to guitars, amplifiers, and recording equipment that helped artists achieve sounds that conventional technology couldn't produce. Growing up as the son of an electronics engineer in Detroit, Marcus had combined his technical education with an intuitive understanding of music that made him invaluable to musicians who were pushing beyond the limitations of standard equipment. His workshop in a converted garage was filled with prototype instruments and amplifiers that looked like science fiction but sounded like pure magic. The music industry in 1969 was at a crossroads between artistic innovation and commercial standardization, as record label executives and equipment manufacturers increasingly sought to control and limit the experimental sounds that had emerged from the counterculture movement. Marcus had witnessed firsthand how corporate interests were pressuring musicians to use standard equipment and conventional recording techniques that would produce more predictable and marketable results. "They want to turn music into a factory product," Marcus often complained to his musician clients. "But the soul of rock and roll comes from breaking the rules, not following them." Marcus's work with Hendrix had begun when the guitarist approached him with a specific request. "Man, I can hear sounds in my head that don't exist yet. I need someone who can build the technology to make those sounds real." The collaboration had resulted in amplifier modifications and effects pedals that helped Hendrix create his otherworldly sonic landscapes. But Marcus knew that even more revolutionary possibilities existed if he could find ways to overcome the technical limitations imposed by conventional electronics and acoustic physics. The Woodstock Festival had brought together the most innovative musicians of the era, but it had also exposed the inadequacy of existing sound technology for handling the scale and intensity of what was happening culturally. Traditional PA systems were designed for indoor venues and controlled environments, while the experimental music being performed required equipment that could handle extreme volume, environmental conditions, and sonic frequencies that challenged every assumption about what musical instruments could produce. Marcus's discovery of Harmony Wavelength occurred during one of his routine checks of the perimeter around the equipment area, ensuring that unauthorized personnel weren't tampering with the sensitive technology that made the festival's legendary performances possible. What he saw stopped him in his tracks. A young woman dancing alone in perfect synchronization with music that seemed to exist only in her imagination, her movements revealing mathematical patterns and harmonic relationships that Marcus recognized from his most advanced acoustic research. "You're hearing the frequencies that most people can't perceive," Marcus said as he approached her, his voice carrying a mixture of amazement and professional curiosity. "The way you're moving suggests you understand the mathematics of sound in ways that most engineers spend years trying to learn." Harmony's response revealed both her unusual background and her deep understanding of the relationship between physics and musical expression. "I grew up in a family of physicists and musicians who taught me that sound is just organized energy, that rhythm is mathematics made audible, and that the most beautiful music comes from understanding the natural laws that govern vibration and resonance. Most people hear music with their emotions, but I hear it with my whole nervous system." The conversation that followed revealed that Harmony was not just another festival dancer, but a trained physicist who had abandoned her graduate studies at MIT to explore how scientific principles could enhance rather than constrain musical creativity. Her rejection of academic physics had come from frustration with how her professors dismissed artistic applications of acoustic research, preferring theoretical work that served military and corporate interests rather than human creative expression. "The establishment wants to use physics to build better weapons and more efficient factories," Harmony explained as they talked through the pre-dawn hours. "But the same principles that govern nuclear fission and electromagnetic radiation can also be used to create transcendent musical experiences that heal consciousness and expand human potential. Science and art aren't opposites. They're different expressions of the same cosmic intelligence." Marcus found himself sharing his own frustrations with the limitations imposed by commercial interests on technical innovation in the music industry. "Every time I develop something truly revolutionary," he told Harmony, "the equipment manufacturers want to improve it by making it cheaper, more standardized, and less capable of producing the unexpected sounds that make music magic. They're afraid of technology that gives artists too much creative freedom." Harmony's insights into the physics of sound and consciousness aligned perfectly with Marcus's intuitive understanding of how electronics could serve musical expression. "Most audio equipment is designed to reproduce existing sounds accurately," she observed. "But what if we created technology specifically designed to generate sounds that have never existed before? What if we could build instruments that responded not just to physical input, but to the performer's consciousness and emotional state?" The theoretical framework that emerged from their collaboration that morning was revolutionary. Instead of simply amplifying and processing acoustic signals, they envisioned electronic instruments that could translate human consciousness directly into sound, creating music that reflected not just technical skill, but spiritual and emotional depth. "We're not just talking about better guitars and amplifiers," Marcus realized. "We're talking about a completely new relationship between human consciousness and musical expression." Before you continue this incredible journey of love, innovation, and musical revolution with us, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories about the visionary individuals whose technical genius and creative partnerships changed the course of music history forever. The immediate practical application of their theoretical breakthrough came when Harmony helped Marcus solve a critical problem with Hendrix's amplifier that had been causing distortion and feedback issues throughout the festival. Using her understanding of wave mechanics and harmonic resonance, she identified frequency conflicts that conventional troubleshooting had missed, allowing Marcus to make modifications that not only solved the immediate problem, but actually enhanced the amplifier's sonic capabilities. "You just saved Jimmy's dawn performance," Marcus told Harmony as they tested the repaired equipment. "But more than that, you've shown me possibilities I never imagined. Your understanding of physics could revolutionize how we think about musical instruments and sound reproduction." Harmony's response revealed her vision of how their collaboration could extend far beyond solving immediate technical problems. "Marcus, what we're discovering together isn't just about better equipment. We're developing technology that could democratize musical creativity, giving every person access to sonic possibilities that are currently available only to a few innovative artists with custom equipment. We could make transcendent musical expression available to anyone with the curiosity and courage to explore it." The dawn performance by Hendrix that their collaboration had made possible became one of the most legendary moments in rock history, with the modified amplifier producing sounds that seemed to bridge the gap between electronic technology and natural forces. As Marcus watched Harmony dance to Hendrix's interpretation of the Star-Spangled Banner, he realized that their meeting represented more than a chance encounter. It was the beginning of a partnership that could transform music itself. "This is just the beginning," Marcus told Harmony, as the festival began to wind down and the reality of returning to their separate lives loomed before them. "What we've discovered together this weekend could change everything about how music is made, how instruments work, and how human consciousness connects with sound. But we can't develop these ideas separately. This kind of innovation requires collaboration between technical expertise and intuitive understanding." The partnership that began at Woodstock quickly evolved into both a romantic relationship and a revolutionary collaboration that would challenge every assumption the music industry had made about the relationship between technology and creativity. Marcus and Harmony established their headquarters in an abandoned warehouse in San Francisco's Mission District, creating a laboratory where they could develop prototypes without interference from corporate interests or academic institutions that might try to control or commercialize their innovations before they were fully realized. The workshop they created was unlike anything in the conventional music industry, combining Marcus's technical expertise with Harmony's theoretical knowledge to develop instruments that responded to consciousness as well as physical input. "We're not just building better guitars," Harmony explained to visitors who came to observe their work. "We're creating technology that serves human creative potential rather than limiting it to predetermined patterns and commercial formulas." Their first breakthrough involved developing electronic instruments that could translate brainwave patterns into musical frequencies, allowing performers to create sounds that reflected their mental and emotional states directly. The prototype they created looked like a combination of electronic keyboard and medical monitoring equipment, with sensors that detected neural activity and converted it into controllable audio signals. "Music has always been the language of consciousness," Marcus observed during their early experiments. "We're just making that connection more direct and immediate." The reaction from established musicians who tested their prototypes was overwhelmingly positive, as artists discovered they could create sounds that reflected their inner experiences more accurately than conventional instruments allowed. "It's like the instrument is reading my mind," reported one guitarist who tested their neural interface system. "I think a sound, and the instrument creates it. I feel an emotion, and the music expresses it immediately. It's the closest thing to telepathy I've ever experienced." The technical challenges of their work required innovations in electronics, acoustics, and neuroscience that pushed beyond the boundaries of existing knowledge in all three fields. Marcus's engineering skills were tested by the need to create reliable electronic systems that could process complex biological signals, while Harmony's physics background was challenged by the need to understand how consciousness might interact with electromagnetic fields in ways that conventional science hadn't explored. "We're doing research that universities won't fund and corporations won't support," Harmony told Marcus during one of their late-night development sessions. "The academic establishment thinks consciousness research is too mystical, while the music industry thinks it's too complicated. We're working in the space between established fields, which gives us freedom, but also means we're entirely on our own." The romantic dimension of their partnership developed naturally from their intellectual collaboration, as they discovered that their complementary skills and shared vision created a bond that was both personal and professional. "I've never met anyone who understands the relationship between science and art the way you do," Marcus told Harmony during one of their evening walks through Golden Gate Park. "Working with you feels like coming home to a part of myself I didn't know existed." Harmony's response revealed the depth of their connection. "Marcus, what we're creating together is bigger than either of us could achieve alone. The technology is revolutionary, but the real innovation is how we're combining technical precision with intuitive creativity. We're proving that science and spirituality can enhance each other rather than competing for dominance." The first public demonstration of their consciousness-responsive instruments took place at a small club in Berkeley, where they invited a select group of musicians, scientists, and journalists to witness technology that could revolutionize musical expression. The performance involved improvised music created through direct neural interface with sounds that changed in real time based on the performer's thoughts, emotions, and creative intentions. "Ladies and gentlemen," Marcus announced to the assembled audience, "you're about to witness the future of musical expression. What you'll hear tonight isn't just music, it's consciousness made audible, creativity translated directly into sound, without the limitations imposed by conventional instruments or traditional technique." The performance that followed challenged every assumption about how music was created and what instruments could accomplish. The sounds ranged from sublimely beautiful harmonic progressions that seemed to emerge from pure emotion to complex rhythmic patterns that reflected the mathematical precision of thought itself. "This isn't just a new instrument," observed one music critic who attended the demonstration. "This is a new form of communication, a direct connection between human consciousness and sonic expression." The interest generated by their demonstration attracted attention from both supporters and opponents of their revolutionary approach to musical technology. Progressive musicians and consciousness researchers were fascinated by the creative possibilities, while conservative industry figures worried that such radical innovations might threaten established commercial patterns and artistic hierarchies. "What Marcus and Harmony are developing could democratize musical genius," explained Dr. Robert Chen, a neuroscientist who had attended their demonstration, If consciousness can be translated directly into music, then everyone becomes potentially capable of profound artistic expression, regardless of their traditional musical training or technical skill. That's either the most exciting or the most threatening development in the history of music, depending on your perspective. The opposition to their work came from predictable sources: instrument manufacturers who feared obsolescence, record labels who preferred controllable artistic products, and academic institutions who resented outsiders making breakthroughs in their specialized fields. "These hippie inventors are undermining everything that makes music an art form," complained one industry executive. "If anyone can create music just by thinking about it, then what value does years of practice and study have? They're destroying the craft and tradition that make music meaningful." Marcus and Harmony's response to criticism was to continue developing their technology while documenting its potential for enhancing, rather than replacing, traditional musical skills. "We're not trying to eliminate the need for musical training," Harmony explained to skeptical journalists. "We're trying to remove the barriers that prevent people from expressing their musical ideas. Traditional instruments require years of practice to master, but musical creativity exists in everyone. Our technology allows that creativity to be expressed immediately while people develop their technical skills." The expansion of their research led to collaborations with other innovative musicians and scientists who were exploring the frontiers of consciousness and creativity. Their workshop became a gathering place for artists, researchers, and philosophers who were interested in the implications of technology that could interface directly with human awareness and creative potential. "We're not just changing how music is made," observed one visiting researcher. "We're exploring fundamental questions about the nature of consciousness, creativity, and the relationship between mind and matter. This work has implications that extend far beyond music into fields like education, therapy, and human potential development." The personal growth that Marcus and Harmony experienced through their collaboration was as significant as their technical achievements, as they discovered that their partnership allowed them to transcend the limitations of their individual expertise while maintaining their unique contributions to their shared vision. "Working together has made both of us more than we could be separately," Marcus reflected during an interview about their partnership. "Harmony's scientific understanding enhances my engineering intuition, while my practical experience helps ground her theoretical insights in reality." The third phase of Marcus and Harmony's revolutionary work began when their consciousness-responsive instruments attracted the attention of major recording artists who recognized that this technology could transform not just live performance, but the entire process of music creation and recording. Musicians who had reached the limits of what conventional instruments could express found new possibilities for articulating their creative visions through devices that responded to thought and emotion as directly as to physical input. The breakthrough that would ultimately save music from corporate standardization came when Marcus and Harmony developed a portable version of their consciousness interface technology that could be integrated with existing instruments and recording equipment. Instead of replacing traditional guitars, keyboards, and drums, their innovations enhanced these instruments' responsiveness to the performer's inner state while preserving the tactile and technical skills that musicians had spent years developing. "We realized that the goal wasn't to eliminate traditional instruments, but to make them more expressive," Harmony explained to a gathering of music industry professionals who had initially been skeptical of their innovations. "A guitar becomes more powerful when it can respond not just to your fingers but to your intentions. A piano becomes more musical when it can translate your emotions into sound. We're not replacing musicianship, we're amplifying it." The commercial breakthrough that validated their approach came when several major artists began incorporating consciousness-responsive modifications into their recording sessions, creating albums that captured levels of emotional authenticity and creative spontaneity that conventional technology couldn't achieve. The enhanced instruments allowed musicians to record their true creative intentions rather than approximations limited by technical constraints. "Working with Marcus and Harmony's technology is like having a direct line from your soul to the recording," reported one Grammy-winning artist who had used their enhanced instruments. "You think a sound, feel an emotion, imagine a texture, and the instrument creates it immediately. The gap between creative vision and musical reality disappears completely." The impact on the recording industry was profound and immediate, as albums created with consciousness-responsive technology demonstrated artistic depth and emotional resonance that forced competitors to reconsider their approach to music production. instead of the increasingly sterile and standardized sounds that corporate interests had been promoting. These recordings captured the raw creativity and spiritual authenticity that had originally made rock music revolutionary. The resistance from established industry forces intensified as Marcus and Harmony's innovations threatened the commercial control systems that had been designed to limit artistic unpredictability and ensure profitable standardization. Equipment manufacturers, record label executives, and industry associations launched coordinated campaigns to discredit consciousness-responsive technology as unreliable, impractical, and potentially dangerous to traditional musical values. These so-called innovations are just gimmicks that distract from real musical skill and artistic discipline, declared one industry spokesperson. Music is about craftsmanship, tradition, and the mastery of established techniques. Technology that claims to read minds or translate consciousness into sound is either fraudulent science or dangerous experimentation that could harm both performers and audiences. Marcus and Harmony's response to industry opposition was to document their technology's effectiveness through rigorous scientific testing while continuing to refine and improve their innovations based on feedback from musicians who were using the equipment professionally. "The proof is in the music," Marcus told critics. "Artists who use our technology are creating more powerful, more authentic, and more emotionally honest recordings than ever before. You can argue with our theories, but you can't argue with those results." The long-term impact of their work extended far beyond the music industry, as consciousness-responsive technology found applications in education, therapy, and scientific research into the nature of human creativity and awareness. Medical researchers discovered that the brain-computer interfaces Marcus and Harmony had developed could help stroke patients regain communication abilities, while educators found that consciousness-responsive instruments could help students with learning disabilities express themselves in ways that traditional methods couldn't accommodate. What started as a project to create better musical instruments has become a breakthrough in understanding how consciousness interfaces with technology, observed Dr. Sarah Martinez, a cognitive scientist who had studied their innovations. Marcus and Harmony have opened up entirely new fields of research while demonstrating that the boundary between mind and machine is far more permeable than anyone previously imagined. The personal relationship between Marcus and Harmony continued to deepen as their professional collaboration evolved into a life partnership that exemplified the integration of technical innovation with spiritual awareness they had been developing through their work. Their wedding ceremony in 1972 was conducted in their workshop, surrounded by the instruments they had created together, with music generated through consciousness-responsive technology that translated their emotional states into a unique soundtrack for their commitment. "We're not just marrying each other," Harmony said in her vows. "We're marrying our vision of what human creativity can become when technology serves consciousness rather than controlling it. Our love is part of our work, and our work is part of our love." The establishment of the Institute for Consciousness and Sound in 1975 provided Marcus and Harmony with a permanent base for continuing their research while training the next generation of innovators who would carry their vision forward into new applications and artistic possibilities. The Institute combined workshop facilities for developing new instruments with educational programs that taught both technical skills and the philosophical principles that guided their approach to consciousness-responsive technology. The influence of their work on subsequent developments in music technology was profound and lasting, as the principles they discovered became foundational to advances in digital music production, virtual reality, and brain-computer interface research. Musicians, scientists, and engineers around the world built upon their innovations while adapting their techniques to new technological possibilities and artistic challenges. Every major advance in music technology since the 1970s can be traced back to principles that Marcus and Harmony first articulated, observed one music technology historian. They didn't just invent new instruments, they changed how we think about the relationship between human consciousness and technological capability. The recognition that eventually came to Marcus and Harmony included honorary degrees from universities that had initially dismissed their work, induction into multiple halls of fame, and acknowledgement from the scientific community that their research had opened entirely new fields of investigation. But perhaps more meaningful was the knowledge that their innovations had preserved the creative authenticity and spiritual power of music during a period when commercial forces had threatened to reduce artistic expression to standardized formulas. The legacy of their collaboration was ultimately measured not just in technological innovations, but in the preservation of music's capacity to serve human consciousness rather than corporate interests. "We wanted to save music from becoming a factory product," Marcus reflected in later years, "and we ended up discovering that consciousness itself could be the most sophisticated technology of all." The guitar technician who had found a festival dancer and saved music forever had proven that technical innovation and spiritual awareness could enhance each other when brought together by people committed to serving human creative potential rather than commercial control. Their story became part of the larger narrative of how individual vision and collaborative partnership could overcome institutional resistance while opening new possibilities for artistic expression and human consciousness. The technology that emerged from their weekend meeting at Woodstock had ultimately preserved the revolutionary spirit of the counterculture movement by ensuring that no corporate or government force could fully control or standardize the creative expression that emerged from human consciousness. In saving music from external control, Marcus and Harmony had helped preserve one of humanity's most powerful tools for spiritual growth, emotional healing, and collective awakening. Their love story had proven that the most profound innovations often emerge from the intersection of technical expertise and intuitive wisdom, demonstrating that the future of human creativity lay not in the dominance of either science or spirituality, but in their conscious integration for the service of authentic expression and expanded consciousness.